Welcome to About the Winelands. In this show, we will be chatting to leaders, influencers, wine producers, restaurants, and other role players. Tune in every week for our latest episode. You will find us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram TV, Spotify, Apple Podcast, and Google Podcast. Good day, everybody, and welcome back to About the Winelands. Today we are talking to Belinda de Alba and Steven Vos from African Wines. Steven and Belinda, welcome and thanks for talking to us.
Thanks for having us.
It's our pleasure. I know you guys are busy, so I'd like to get some information first about if you can tell us a bit about yourself and yeah, you became involved with the wine industry.
Okay, Steven, you go first.
Okay. I'm sort of kind of a wine puppy. I started to get involved in the wine industry about 2.5, 3 years ago. I used to work in HR and human resources, and yeah, I didn't like the work, office work. So I followed my passion, and I love to cook. And I love wines more. So I started with the WSET course, the second one, and now I finished the third one. And I want to do the diploma course to become a wine academicer. I was looking for a job in the wine industry, and I'm very happy to work for African Wines as a shop manager and learn all the things of the wines, especially South African wines and Italian wines, but in this particular part, South African wines. And I'm, some kind of a wine nerd. I love information to adapt a lot of information about wines. So, and I love to educate my friends about wine and make people happy with wines.
Well,
so that's about it.
Sounds like you're in the perfect place now.
Yeah.
Yes, he is. And we're very happy to have him. He knows a lot about wines. And I myself, me and my husband are from the restaurant business for a very long time now. And we started importing Italian wines like almost 30 years ago. But with our passion for South Africa that grew in the last few years, we wanted to start also with importing South African wines. And that's how we started with African wines because we thought there's so many beautiful wines from South Africa that are not known yet in Europe, in the Netherlands. And we really wanted to show the wines, but also tell the public about the people behind them, the passion, the dedication, and the people in South Africa. There are so many very progressive winemakers, young winemakers, and we love their work, and we want to represent them here in Europe and the Netherlands.
That's wonderful. I think if you say you started with a passion for South Africa, I must assume that was after a visit.
Well, actually, my parents used to live in South Africa a very, very long time ago. And I always had, because I was the only one of the children that was not born in South Africa. They came back in 1965 to the Netherlands. And I always heard the stories about how beautiful the life was there. So 6 years ago, I finally got the chance to go to South Africa, and actually I was hooked immediately, and I felt so that I belonged there. So actually I feel it's not my second home, but it's you have a place where you live and you have a place where you belong, and I think South Africa is the place where my roots are. So it's a very profound passion.
Oh, this is amazing.
So tell us, Belinda, the story of African wines. How did it start? What was the idea, and how were you established in the Netherlands?
Well, because of our trips to South Africa a couple of times, and we were already, my husband was already in the wine business, of course, and we wanted to spend more time there. We got to meet some people in the wine business, and from there we wanted to do something also to go more often to South Africa. But most of all, we noticed that when we were here in the Netherlands, if you go to a restaurant on wine lists, it was a lot, the usual suspects. And we noticed in South Africa that there were so many people so dedicated to winemaking, but often they are quite small and they don't have the budgets, to go against the big guys,
Mhm.
which is quite difficult, of course, if you want to sell your wines also abroad. And what I also noticed was that a lot of winemakers, also bigger companies, were very into sustainable winemaking, community projects, or nature projects. And I think if you import South African wines, or if you do business in South Africa, you have to give something back. You have to show the world. You can't just go there, have a holiday, and say thank you very much. There's so much work to do in South Africa, and we wanted to also support the people who want to make their business over there. So that is originally the idea of African wines.
Oh, that's wonderful. Um, uh, you're right. I mean, giving back to Africa is South Africa and Africa is so important in keeping the whole place and the whole continent sustainable. There's so much this whole continent can give, and unfortunately, this wasn't always the case with other things that were coming from Africa, like gold and diamonds and commodities and all kinds of stuff. It's not always
Mhm.
the giving back is not always there, but certainly in the wine industry, it's been a trend that there's been a lot happening. So thank you for that. I think everybody appreciates that. Um, you are you selling? I assume you're not just selling in the Netherlands, because I saw on your website that you've got a UK section on your website as well.
Yeah, most of the clients buy from the Netherlands, but in the sales we see that a lot of foreign customers buy our wines. UK, France, Belgium, and it's starting to get more. I think a lot of people visited South Africa and they Google the wines, they search for the wines, or they visit the wineries in South Africa, and they want to enjoy the wines at home. And some wines are exclusively imported by Africa Wines. So yeah, our clients are from all Europe, and it's getting bigger.
Well, that's interesting. So I'm interested also if you say your clients are from all Europe, I assume those are clients that are buying on. How do you sell? Do they buy on your website or do you sell to the trade as well? What is your sales channels?
Mostly directly from the website or by Instagram or social media channels. They send a request and we proceed to orders. So it's coming from all different channels, but
So do you,
mostly directly from our website.
so you don't do you sell to restaurants and shops as well, or only direct to consumer?
Some of the wines, we also sell to restaurants, which is now very, very difficult because, as you know, and also in South Africa, well, you are open again, but here in Holland, restaurant business is closed already for almost 6 months.
Hmm.
But we do sell to the restaurant because then you get a broader audience. But at the moment, African Wines is developing mostly as a consumer online platform, as a brand to get to the people at home. But of course, we also sell to the restaurant business. Yes.
Well,
And our website is going to be totally new very soon now. So the public has to be, has to follow us to see, because in a very short time we will have a very beautiful made new website and web shop.
oh, that's amazing. I think this is a worldwide trend. I just read some of the trends in the US, and in last year there was 198% growth in online sales in the United States. So I think this is probably true everywhere. Um, and uh, and I think the guys that have online sales were probably saved. If you were just servicing the restaurant business, I suppose that would be difficult.
That is at the moment very difficult, but it's also, of course, a trend from already a longer time,
Hmm.
that online sales becomes much more important,
Mhm.
and the customer friendliness even more becomes important. That's why we are changing our website. We want to use the trends from today and the future trends, to incorporate those in our website and online sales. Yeah, it's called digital, so very client experience oriented, and that is our goal, to really become a platform as a brand for everyone who is interested in African wines.
That's very interesting. Are you able to ship then, because of the European Union, throughout Europe? So if somebody's sitting in Germany or in any other country, could they just click on your website and you'll deliver there as well, or how does that work?
Yeah, yeah. It works very easy. It's the same like a national delivery. So it can be sent to Bordeaux or to Frankfurt. Doesn't matter. Logistically, it's very easy to send the wines.
Oh, that's awesome. So you actually have the whole Europe as a
Yeah,
customer, not just the Netherlands.
yeah, you see the growth of online sales, the whole logistic part. It's smooth within Europe. If it comes to shoes or clothes or whatever, you can buy anything in every country, and it will be delivered in a couple of days. So I think the old-fashioned physical shops, not only wines, but I think a physical shop for wines needs to be there to give good advice and to see your clients. But the retail market in the whole um, it's getting less interesting. It's all online.
Well, it's a trend that's really started in the US. If you look at Amazon changed everything. The retail shops is almost like an experience center where you see the product, but you don't actually go home with it. You see it and you might look at it and then you go online and find the best price and order it. All right.
Yeah, yeah.
This is what's happening with everything. I was just wondering about the paperwork and the taxes involved with wine, if that was a deterrent. But what you're saying, not really. You can ship anywhere.
Yeah, well, the costs of shipment of sending is, Europe is quite small, of course. I mean, Cape Town, Joburg is like, we go across 3 countries here for in that distance. So, but it's not a lot of additional sending costs, Jenny, and taxes are already in the price. So it's not like people have to pay a huge amount extra when they order from abroad.
Okay, that's awesome. So that's very good news because that means long term that market is going to grow exponentially, which is great. Um,
Yes, and the nice thing, of course, is that you can also, which you can see, and we are going to do also, is like virtual tasting experiences. You order your wine and you get a live tasting with Steven, and you can sit from your home and taste the wines, but get the explanations virtually, yeah, together with the experts of African wines.
Keep the interaction
Yeah.
with your customers.
I think this is very, very important because now you can actually talk to your end customer directly, which is much better than selling through a different distribution channel where you don't actually, if you're selling to retail stores or to restaurants, you don't really know who bought the wine. Whereas here you're actually building up a customer list over time, which is very, very powerful.
Yes, yeah, and that's the new. Well, we think it's a new trend or a trend. It will become bigger and bigger.
I totally believe in what you're saying. I noticed that you import from all over South Africa, and I was wondering, firstly, how do you choose your wines that you import? And secondly, if there's a producer listening to this and they're thinking, "Sure, I want to be on these guys' website or whatever," how do they, what is your requirements, and how do they do that?
Shall I? The first, we actually met. Well, almost all of our winemakers or producers in person when we visit South Africa, because we believe it's very important to have a personal relationship also with the wine producers. I can't sell a product if I don't know the people behind it. You know, you have to have a different relationship uh, to to tell about their passion and their commitment to their product. So we actually visited the wine producers, talked to them, and well, this year was a bit difficult. We hope to get there soon to see them again, and we also have some new stuff coming, but that's still a surprise. I'm not going to tell too much about that. So yeah, we meet actually in person, and Stephen will tell about how to get in touch with us about for producers.
Yeah. Well, for me, the technical part is first of all the philosophy of the winemaker. I want to taste the expression of the winemaker, the signature. And if you taste the wine and it's not in your memory the next day, then it's probably not good. And not because you drink too much wine, but it's more like it's more. It has to be something special, and it needs to be adjustment for our selection of wines. It needs to add something to the collection that you sell. I think that's the most important part, and it needs to be technically good wine with good potential, and yeah, it needs to be a wine that you can sell to your clients. So that's the technical part. I think the most important thing is the philosophy. If you taste some wines from a winery, and you don't taste what they want to express, then I think it's not interesting for me. So.
Oh, that's very interesting. So if somebody wants to get hold of you, they need to send you an email and invite you to their farm, basically.
Yeah, that we normally want to meet the people in person. Yes,
That's wonderful.
because you know it's very important that you. It's kind of a community, of course. You know, it's. I think personally, of course, everybody has his own business and has their own ideas about their wines, but it's also a very small community. Everybody knows each other, and I like to work with people that I have a certain relationship with, because you're selling their passion. So I want to talk to them. So the best thing is to get in touch with us, you know, to mail us, and then we can meet when we are there, and hopefully in the future it will be easier to come to South Africa and with all the travel restrictions. But then we all will be there soon, and that's that's very important for us to talk to the wine producers and to see their product and taste their product, of course. but it's not just, you know, there are so many great quality wines. That is, of course, the main thing. But then, you know, what kind of person are you? Why are you making your wines? What are your thoughts on sustainability, on community, on helping each other to promote South Africa as a whole, which is very, very important at the moment. You know, we need in South Africa the economy to, with no travelers at the moment. It's so important to have them come as soon as it's possible again, and to visit, especially the winelands, of course.
Absolutely, and I think you hit the nail on the head. It's about sustainability and also, you know, people collaborating, which is always difficult in a farming community. Somehow, you know, people don't always collaborate, but I think the wine industry has pulled together nicely. And we have a wonderful wine industry and a wonderful product. Um, I see also on your website, and it is part of your philosophy, I suppose, about, you know, you were mentioning giving back and sustainability. You have a charity section. What does that involve?
Well, what we did, well, what I told you also before is that we want winemakers that are involved in community projects, or like Painted Wolf. They are for the painted dogs, the conservation. But some wine producers are very, very small. You know, they are almost a good cause in itself.
That's
So
true.
what we did was what, yeah, and what Damiana and I did from the start, because we visited South Africa several times, and we also visited various projects, community projects, because that was already in our DNA and in our system. We also supported them already personally on a personal base before. So for the smaller producers who don't have a project of their own, we picked several projects that we support, so that every bottle of wine you buy at African Wines, you know, somewhere out there in South Africa, somebody is supported in some way. And it's not like we send money all the time. Sometimes it's also with, you know, with events that we sample the bottles, we give bottles, we give promotion for several projects, as long as we show that there is, it's wine, of course, it's important, but it's also important to know that what we do here in the rich Western communities, that we can add to the economy and people's benefits in Africa.
Well, that's wonderful, and I think people would really appreciate it. And I'm sure there's a lot of people supporting you because of your values and your philosophy. Um, the coronavirus, you know, COVID has forced all of us to rethink our business models. Do you have any changes or new ideas in mind because of this?
Well, the wine market in the Netherlands is it's a frustrated market at the moment because of Corona. Like we said before, the restaurants are closed, so consumers they buy more wine at home. They only can have nice dinners at home. So you have to focus on the online sales, and that's the most important thing, that you're visible for your customers in the Netherlands, so they can buy it online. And the last months of 2020, you saw a peak of buying wines. First, first of all, the holidays like Christmas and New Year's Eve. So there's a peak of more wine buying of customers. But I think the online market is the most important thing to focus on, and make sure that if you do a tasting, that you do it online, or try to reach out to the people, because they're at home at the moment.
Yeah, and if I may add to that, we actually are involved already a couple of months because of the changes in the world today with a South African marketing company to actually, enhance our online sales, but also the online contact with our clients and the developing of the brand. And we decided to do that with the South African company. So we do everything on Zoom and phone and stuff. But really to get more in touch with our clients on a different level, on a more professional and higher level, even if it's online and not personal face to face.
Yeah, I think this is one of the big changes. And interesting enough, in that report I read about the US, this was one of the trends that they see as well. Virtual wine tastings, of course, this is a worldwide trend. But the other thing that they said that was interesting, they believe that this will continue even after COVID has gone, that this direct, whether we want to know it or not, people's attentions are on their phones. And this is the new channel to talk to people. So even in normal times, you were right when you said that online sales were growing anyway. I think the whole COVID thing has just exponentially made it faster, but it was a trend that was inevitable.
Yes.
Yeah, it's it's a booster for something that was already going on. So it speeded up the process. That's the conclusion of the situation with COVID.
Yeah, and the challenge, of course, is now to make online contact more personal. Because even though we are in a digital era and a lot of, even the younger the people get, the more they are involved digitally. Mm-hmm. But the need for personal contact will always be there. So the challenge is to find a way to get personal contact with your clients digitally. And that's the big challenge, to make digital online shopping or digital contact an experience and not just press button. So that is our goal for the future also.
I think that's important because that's the only really unique selling position you have over the long term, because over big companies like Amazon, who's just providing a quick, fast, easy distribution system. If you build your brand and you actually interact with your customers, if you don't do that, you're not going to be able to compete with them over the long term.
No, but there's another thing. I think that's a really important trend, and you see that a lot with especially younger people, that there is a global awareness that we need to go far away from these big companies who are only interested in getting money and as much as they can. But there's a thing like sustainability and community-oriented buying. And I think that is a trend that the younger public is much more aware of than and will be even more in the future than there is now.
The money that you spend on Amazon won't return in your local economy. It vaporizes to a big American company or another big American company. So and it frustrates the economy. So and the personal touch is the most important thing. You're as good as the last bottle you sell online. So your customer support needs to be very good and personal. The contact is very important. They need to have a name or a face or a personal touch, digital face of the company to speak to when there's something wrong or they have wishes or whatever, and personalize the packages. If someone orders a present, just mail them and we can write a card for them, or we do whatever they want, and that makes it personal. So every time when people buy wines, we send a personal postcard and thank them for the order. and and people really like it because it's handwritten postcard. So it's not, so you make something digital, digital order. You make it a little bit physical. The approach.
Well, that's amazing, and I think you're right. That's and another thing that you mentioned, Belinda, is that people are interested in the sustainability stories and whatever. And I think one of the things that you guys could do virtually, and I don't know if you do that yet, is actually collecting those stories from your winemakers and stuff like that about the sustainability, the stories, the place in Africa, because this is all the things that make your brand unique. The fact that you actually have those that philosophy, but also have the ability to collect the stories about, that people can see that.
Yeah, we already have that on our website. Every wine house, wine producer has a short description, what they do themselves. And if not, because they are so small, there's a reference to the community projects we support. So people also see that, what is the background of the company or the winemaker, because yeah, that's quite important to read about. And if you're interested, of course. If you're not, you can leave it. But we see that a lot of people are interested in, who are these people? Why are they doing what they do?
I believe that. The other thing that I'm thinking about is want to ask you is that you mentioned that young people are involved, interested in different things, and one of the things that are really a trend is, I think there's an interest in low sulphur wines, but also non-alcoholic wines. And this is growing at the back. What is your thoughts on that?
Well, I would certainly be a fan of getting low alcohol or non-alcoholic wines, but we don't have it yet. I must admit that. But it's certainly something we can have a look at, and but it has to be a really nice quality,
Mhm.
and it's difficult to find something that it really lives up to our standards, because yeah, wine of course already is a nature product. um, I know in the past I've tried some non-alcoholic wines, not South African, and I didn't really like it. So
No, no, I agree. I agree. I totally agree. The non-alcoholic wines that I tasted were not that good. But there's a trend. Well, we don't have so much questions of wishes of our clients for alcohol-free wines, and about the organic wines and biodynamic wines. Some are good, some are a little bit too funky. It's a niche.
Mhm.
It's starting to grow. Amsterdam has a nature wine bubble, where a lot of young millennials buy a lot of Van Nature and very organic, low sulfate, less intervention of the winemaker. Um, it's a niche, and I'm a little bit too old-fashioned, I think. Oh, I like all types of wine because wine is my passion and it's interesting, but um, the it's not always that good.
But
and
sometimes.
there's another thing, maybe. Yeah, there's some other thing maybe that it has, what I think is even more important. Of course, there are younger millennials who are interested in low free or alcohol-free wines, but maybe also for the wine business, it's the job more to focus on drink responsibly, instead of don't drink at all. Just drink responsibly, and if you want to have a wine, maybe you can choose a better wine,
Yeah,
a better
yeah,
quality wine
yeah,
for a couple of rand more, and that you really can enjoy, than buy, like things that are, you throw almost away. So there is a responsibility for the winemakers and wine producers, and for us too, to show that, you can drink responsibly and enjoy. It's like it's a really beautiful product.
Yeah, instead of quantity, quality.
Yeah.
So you see that in the Netherlands they drink less wine, but of a higher quality. So instead of a supermarket wine like a Chateau de Sulfite or a Chateau de Migraine for
Tell
six,
me, Grain,
six
you
or
say.
€3, yeah, they buy a wine of €10 or and then you have a different quality range, and so they buy less volume, less quantity, but more quality, and I think that's more important.
But also, I think though, in the if you I mean everybody I talk to are talking about the new trends amongst millennials, and unfortunately people have to grow into appreciating wine. So sometimes, most people that I, if I think back to my younger days, is most people got introduced to wine with something that was maybe a bit sweeter or something like that, and
Yeah,
a more young wine and something more. That's why fruit wines that are these fruit wines are very popular among young people as well. But it does introduce them to wine, and then over time your palate develops. And I think
Yes.
so. It is
yeah.
important to still keep up with what young people like, because otherwise they would never even start drinking wine.
Yeah, it's you have to. My first glass of wine was a white glass of Lambrusco, so it was really very sweet.
That's true. You see what I'm saying? That's most people will
Yeah,
have
you're
the same
developing
experience.
your
Yeah.
taste.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's also telling about the product. The information you give and making people curious to have them try it, and yeah, the story behind it also makes people curious.
That's why visiting the winelands is probably the most important thing you can do on your wine journey. Is actually come here um, and
Yeah.
see what it gives.
Yes.
I mean, I'm just watching now. To make you guys jealous, I'm sitting here in Stellenbosch looking out over the vineyards. So, you know, there's something to say for that. That gives you another type of appreciation, because you see, I've been watching these vineyards now for a time, and now they grow, and now the grapes have matured in the last few weeks, and it just gives you much more of an appreciation of what goes into the bottle.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's harvest time, so we'll be busy there.
But, yeah, where I'm now, the guys are not harvesting yet, but they will definitely start within the next 2 weeks. So yes, um, and
Okay,
some
we're looking at very gray, cold weather here, so we're quite jealous of you.
Yes.
So your wine journey has been interesting. But what's the most important thing that you've learned by being in this industry or being involved with wine?
Every day I still get amazed if well, I don't know if it's the most important thing, but if I look in the shop and I look at all the wines, then I'm still amazed that it's a grape, and there are so many varieties, and so many ways of making a good wine, um, um, and you never get so there's always something. It's always moving, the whole wine industry, and you always see new things, or you learn new things, and the more you learn, um, sometimes it's getting frustrated as well. So my wife likes a nice glass of wine, so it's a thumb up or a thumb down, and I'm too nerdy. So the more I know, the more frustrated it is to drink a nice glass of wine with my wife. So, yeah, you never. I'm never getting bored about learning about wine.
And for me, I think the wine industry. We come from hospitality industry, so we're always busy. We've always been busy with accommodating people. And what I love about the wine industry is the passion of the people, the
Yeah,
dedication, and especially like if you meet these small wine producers who can describe and talk about their products, and so passionately and totally committed. And it's so lovely to see, and also how a lot of winemakers, care about if they have staff, how they work together as a community effort to make things happen. And I just love that.
Yeah, and to speak the same language as the winemaker. That's something I learned by doing courses to talk technically about wines. It's very nice when you meet when you go to a winery. I've never been to South Africa. I feel ashamed.
You have to be completely ashamed. I can't believe you haven't been here, but
Yeah,
you
yeah,
can use
I
the
know,
private
I know.
excuse, but it's not good enough.
No, I'm not going to make any excuse. So
He will come soon.
if it's possible to visit South Africa, I will visit because I'm amazed by the wines. And I love to meet winemakers in South Africa. So and look around.
Awesome. Okay, guys, my last question to each of you is you've got to give me your favorite wine quote.
Yeah, I thought about it the whole way to work when I was driving, but I think the best thing is a glass of wine complements life.
That's awesome. I like that.
Yeah, I find it very difficult. So, for me, it's wine is like love. It's about people, passion, dedication, and commitment.
Wow, that's also very awesome. Thank you so much. How do people, if people want to get a hold of you guys, how do they do that?
The best way is to call us. We have a phone, but from South Africa, maybe that's a bit expensive. So send us an email. It's info@africanwines.nl, and we will get in touch as soon as we can. And please follow us on social media or subscribe to our newsletter so we can keep everybody up to date about our new plans and the developments here in the Netherlands and in Europe.
Okay, that's awesome. Thank you for to Belinda de Alba and Steven Vos for talking to us. And I know you guys are busy, so I think our listeners will find this talk very, very interesting. But we appreciate that you've taken the time to talk to us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for supporting our show. If you would like to get more exposure for your business, please have a look at our sponsorship options. Thanks again for supporting About the Winelands. Please follow us on YouTube and on our social media channels. All details and links are in the description.